Welcome. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has expressed shock at images showing the poor condition of the latest 3 hostages released by Hamas in the 5th exchange of the Gaza ceasefire deal. 34-year-old Levy, in the middle of these images, was captured at the Nova Music Festival, and Ohad Ben Armi, who is 56, and also Eli Sharabi, who's 52, were both taken from Kibbutz Be'eri. The 3 men looked gaunt and severely malnourished. They were paraded by Hamas fighters on a stage before being handed over to the Red Cross. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the distressing images they'd seen would not be glossed over, and President Isaac Herzog called it a crime against humanity. The Israeli military have taken the hostages into Israel to receive medical treatment. Now, in return, 183 Palestinians who are being held in Israeli prisons were also freed. Our Middle East correspondent Yolande Nell begins our coverage from Tel Aviv on the hostages' release.
Hamas had set the stage for a more orderly handover of the latest hostages. But when they emerged, Ohad Ben Armi, who's 56, Levy, 34, and Eli Sharabi, aged 52, looked thin, weak and pale. They were forced to give statements surrounded by masked gunmen. And after cheers went up from those watching the live feed in Kibbutz Be'eri, where 2 of the 3 men were seized from their homes, there was shock as friends took in their changed appearance. And tears from Eli Sharabi's family waiting for their reunion. Adding to their pain, it's still not clear if he knows his British-born wife Leanne and 2 daughters were killed 16 months ago. His brother-in-law was watching from the UK.
Albeit he's wearing baggy clothes, you can see that his wrists were skinny. But what really hit home was his face. He's gaunt, the darkness under his eyes, the pale skin. And the light gone from his eyes, the light that is always there with Eli.
In Hostages Square, the main family support group said the disturbing images showed there can be no more delays in bringing the remaining captives home. Talks on a sensitive second stage for the Gaza ceasefire are soon due to start in earnest. And many Israelis and Palestinians worry a full end to the war and the return of remaining hostages won't be agreed.
I'm afraid. I'm afraid that this time, like November 2023, we will not go through with it. I'm afraid that some are going to be left behind. And I'm hopeful, I am, but I'm also afraid because we experience the consequences of losing a loved one in the hands of terrorists. And I wish this end to no one.
But this week, fears the deal might collapse have only increased, with President Trump's surprise call for Palestinians to be moved from Gaza, with the Strip taken over by the US. The latest scenes have only added to the uncertainty.
Yolande Nell there with that report. She was reporting from Tel Aviv. And of course, we're just getting some images from the released hostages. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, have been tweeting some images. That's their X account. And they've been tweeting or sending images of some of those released hostages. That is Ohad Levy reunited with his family, and we've also got images of the other released hostages as well. I'm just going through because we know that we've got the moment that Ohad's family was reunited with his wife, also receiving a video call with his daughters. I believe this is Levy finally reunited with family members. Important just to stress that Levy's wife, Einav, was murdered by Hamas on October the 7th. She was amongst those killed. But after now nearly 500 days, he is finally released and reunited. One of the 3 hostages released in this latest stage of this ceasefire deal, a sensitive ceasefire deal, a fragile, as is being described, ceasefire deal, but Hamas releasing these 3 Israeli hostages Of course, Eli Sharabi amongst them, Ohad Ben Ami and Levy. So far, we know that 18 hostages have been freed since that tentative ceasefire began on the 19th of January, with Israel in return releasing 383 prisoners. And today we saw another 183 Palestinian prisoners being released from Israeli prisoners. They are of the 1,900 prisoners due to be freed in this first stage of the ceasefire agreement. Israel saying that some of these released Palestinian prisoners will not be allowed to either return to Gaza or to be allowed to remain in the occupied West Bank. They are calling for numerous members of this cohort of released Palestinian prisoners to be sent on to further countries, sent on abroad, whether it's Egypt or further afield as well. So that's just the second part, the reciprocal part of this tentative ceasefire agreement, that Palestinian prisoners are being released in exchange for the Israeli hostages.